Hey guys and girls, welcome to this week's episode of the No.B.Invested Birchy podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Birch, and this is the show unraveling the truth to the facade of the 21st century. We're now exiting the matrix and waking up to motherfucking reality. It's a fun intro, right? It's the same. People just love this intro. I've got a new special guest here today, Tim McIntyre, content director for news.com.
That's the title. Thanks, Nathan. Good to be here.
Likewise, it was good to see you. Good to catch up. It's been too long to catch up with you.
It's been a while. We've known each other for a long time through this property and the associated coverage.
Yeah, I think we've known each other from I remember I was chatting to you driving to Griffith, fixing a burnt out house, taking photos for a magazine. You used to look over, it was like maybe 16, 17 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was probably, about 15, I think.
15, yeah.
Not much has changed in the real estate world, really.
No, it's lots, right? Lots of changes, but lots of not much.
Lots that hasn't, yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. We hear about stuff today. It's like I heard the same thing 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I'm sure you'd get to see that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Housing's unaffordable, all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Not building enough.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the government's fault. It's negative gearing. It's someone to blame, but no one with an answer. So yeah,
that's it.
Cool, Tim. So thanks for coming on the show, and I'm really excited and to get knowledge from you of what you're seeing in the whole market out there across the country, because you have exposure from the realestate.com side, from all the news publications, and I guess with the end of 2025, with the start of 2026, there's trends that happen, trends that form. I'm excited to see and hear it from you as to what you're seeing around the country. Yeah,
look, there's a pretty common theme happening at the moment around the country, especially in the capitals, is just value growth. There was a bit of a slower period in 2024, but the markets sort of kicked back into gear in 2025, and we're seeing growth all around the country.
Yeah.
We look at probably close to double-digit value growth if you look at the nation's capitals, and some of those markets are the outperformers, like Perth, Brisbane, Adelaide have done much better than that.
Yeah.
Some have struggled a bit, your Hobarts and whatnot, but they are all moving forward now. And I think just about everywhere is now past its previous peak that achieved in those years after COVID, when we saw that nationwide boom of 30-something% in a short time. So look, that at the moment there's not enough supply. Rates have come down somewhat, 3 times in 2025. There's the home guarantee scheme that was brought forward, which has allowed a lot of first time buyers to compete at the bottom end of the market with a 5% deposit. And as a result, there's upward price pressure, especially at the lower end, and it looks like continuing.
And have you seen, I know what I see in my patch of the wood, but from what you're seeing with speaking with everyone in the industry, is there a trend where it's it's looking scary, where that first home scheme's going to have massive impacts in 2026? Or?
Yeah, look, I think already sort of APRA has moved to sort of calm the farm a little bit by putting some restrictions on the lenders there, because I think banks are more than happy to give you as much money as you can pay back in the form of interest over time. So smaller deposit, give them permission.
Yeah,
your beauty. Let's get these people paying something back over 30 years. It's 95% of the value rather than 80%. But look at the stimulus at that end. It always does the same thing, which is push prices up.
Yeah.
If you have a game of musical chairs, you don't solve the shortfall of chairs by putting more people into the game. You got to put more chairs into the game, and that's what governments are unable to do. They incentivize more people to get in, and that pushes prices up, and it'll be scary for a lot of people. Now that inflation's shown itself to not be going away anytime soon. Yeah. There are some people out there who are making the most of their borrowing power, this year and going hard, and they might be in for a rude shock when it comes time to be paying that 95% LVR and rates start to go up again.
It's wild, eh? I was looking at, for first home, there's the other government scheme as well, like the 20%, you have to put a 2% in, the government puts a 20 in, and then you get 80% loan and you co-buy it with the government. And I was thinking, on that, you just need $1 million property and you just need 20 grand, like someone would put on a credit card or sell their car or something to get started. It's like, it's very scary at the pointy end for those guys. And interesting you said about the musical chairs. It feels like they've just put more music on, brought a whole pile more people in to play the game, not removed any chairs, and kept the lights going for longer.
Yeah, exactly. It's bringing more people in to a smaller supply of properties. But I suppose what it is doing with the deposits have been the big hurdle for a number of years now, especially with, relatively a low interest rate environment for some time. It's a bit harder to use savings accounts to save, $200,000 if you're a first time buyer. So cutting that hurdle out, which is different to back in the day when repayments were the hurdle for the for our parents' generation.
Yeah.
Where, you're paying off $100,000 property for your whole life because you're paying,
silly
17, 18% every year. But the deposit's not a problem.
Yeah.
So look, they're trying to get more people able to enter the market. Whether that's going to help them, I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah. It's crazy. Even just thinking back to back in the day when we first started chatting, 15 years ago, and I remember feeling like I was going to go bankrupt if I bought a 200 grand property because I'm like, shit, I'm never going to pay this thing back. And it's just the mindset. It's like people buying a house with no eaves for, a new suburb for $1.5-2 million. And
I even remember now just, sort of 2012, I started, at News Corp.
Yeah.
And there was, this was property values in Sydney had gone nowhere for close to 10 years.
Yeah.
And we're still looking at a median house price of 500 and something thousand.
Yeah.
So I remember we had a story in 2013. The Sydney's just hit 600,000 median.
Yeah.
And people are like, that's nuts,
And you're probably talking about a house, double story.
Yeah.
Of 700 square block or something.
100%. Like $1 million house was still just ridiculous back then.
Yeah.
And that's only 2013.
Yeah.
If you think about what else is happening in the world at the time, I think that was the year Tony Abbott became Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Not that long ago. It feels like a long time ago now, but it's not that long ago. There was, So it's just been crazy, thinking about, we adjust our expectations. We get used to what the new price point is. And then it's like,
you get comfort.
Yeah. I might be able to pick up a house for $1.5 million. But it's like, well, once upon a time, you would have been like, there's no way I can ever afford a house that's cost that much.
My whole portfolio is worth that,
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I bought 10 houses for that,
Yeah. So in all that time that you've been in the market with all of your properties, how's it going? Equity through the roof.
Oh, it's amazing. Every time. That's the thing I'm finding, it's the velocity, Tim. It's like when I'm speaking to our investors, the velocity of their growth. If someone bought 2 properties last year, 2 properties the year before, most people buying 5 here, 2 there. They're buying them they're buying lunch or groceries or whatever. But, I just look at it every time I'm speaking to someone, it's like, shit, each one of those 10 properties has gone up 50K or 80 grand or 100 grand. And it's like, I feel like the greatest business in the world because everyone's like, oh, thanks for making me another $1 million, Birchy. I'll see you next year. Hopefully it'll do the same thing. But it's,
and that's another deposit every however so often, isn't it?
Yeah. Every 6 months. I even surprise myself when I go and dig deeper, from rural macro level, digging in and looking at, I surprise myself sometimes just what I see out there. I guess what I'd love to hear, Tim, as well is what are you seeing? Who are some of the biggest winners that are out there in the market at the moment? And what?
Oh, look, in certain parts of capital cities or major centres, especially some of the fringe suburbs, they've had a lot of growth. Even in the last sort of year, I think I was looking at some prop track figures. Some of the suburbs in Western Sydney, Tregear and Mount Peruit and those places, they've gone up by 20% over the last year, even though the rest of Sydney's been under 10%. So it just shows again that the affordable market, it's really, people are coming down from above because they're priced out of the higher rings. Also, there's just more opportunity and more competition at the lower end. So the people holding assets in those sort of areas would have benefited like a lot. And that's,
Yeah.
you know, if you've got a lot of them, which a lot of B.Invested type philosophy type investors would have, like that's just, you know, compounds that growth sort of thing.
Yeah.
Apart from that, you know, like people with family homes, and the equity that they've got, you know, it's why there's such a gap in places like Sydney now. You know, if you were coming from outside the city, you didn't have a family that had always lived there and could pass on their wealth. Yeah. Like, you better be rich, because otherwise how the hell are you ever going to buy a property there? You know?
I just think about it, even if someone's like the average tradie family from Penrith, right? I'm just making up very stereotypical folks, but like just the average family goes, I can't save more than $5,000 a year from Lucky for a holiday, but like they could have bought something just 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and it's got $400,000, $500,000, $800,000 worth of equity, and the power that's given to the everyday person that took action beforehand. They've now got access to hundreds of thousands of dollars that would have taken them a decade to save up or 2 decades to save up, but they've got the power to go shopping, which is wild.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we know people are, you know, refinancing in order to do all sorts of things. So, that's great. Like, hopefully most people would do that to invest and build more wealth. But, you know, the other part of that, I suppose, is if you were lucky to buy a number of, this happens all through the generations, right? Oh, if only I'd bought back then. And then people will be saying that about right now one day. So
you could buy under $1 million this all there.
So they're like, oh, what you bought when it was under $2 million median in Sydney. Wow, like that'll be crazy in a number of years. But
you only took out a 40-year mortgage and refinanced it 4 times? Wow.
yeah. Exactly.
You did it on 2 jobs?
Yeah. So the good thing is, of course, if you've got a bit of equity, you can, and you want to invest somewhere else, it's also a way of turning the part of the family home into something that's tax deductible. You know, you go from something that, you know, you can't claim. You turn it into a tax deductible asset, and off you go. Build more wealth and consolidate later. You know, world's your oyster.
I remember once I said it lots of times over the years, inflation, when it ramps up high enough, I said it with a tongue in cheek, but with a bit of seriousness. You go to like, you know, a country where there's like $500,000 to buy a burger, right? But not dollars, but whatever their local currency is. And it's like the currency didn't always sit there. It was inflation that ravished it. And I jokingly have said multiple times, like, you could pay off a property with a Big Mac in the future, right? Like, the inflation's just so high. And now we're at a point where it's like someone could have bought a property in Townsville for $150,000 or $200,000. It's now worth $700,000. And you could sell it, take the 500 and go pay at your principal place of residence. It's like, instead of having to work hard and
Yeah. Well, you know, I remember you saying a while ago that if hyperinflation was to strike again, you just when it was at its absolute peak, you'd pay off all of your debt.
Exactly.
It sort of makes sense. You know, it's just not going away. And even when it's in the 3s inflation, as far as the official numbers go, like, you can't tell me that it's in the 3s when you go around to the shops. So if I go down to the golf club, now a $30 Sunday roast is a good deal.
Yeah. Wow.
So, you know, it wasn't that long ago that it want to be under $10 for something like that.
Yeah.
You know, these are at like, you're paying $10 a schooner at the RSL, $11 a schooner. That's not an RSL price.
Yeah.
You know? And that has nothing says 3% about that lived experience out there.
Exactly.
Like, if I go to a service station, or if I go to a convenience store, I literally have no idea what they're going to charge me for something.
Yeah.
If I got a bottle of, like, a 1 litre bottle of water, it could be $6, it could be $15. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know what it's going to be. But
I often think about it, right? Like, when you go to the shops, you know, you used to have a shopping trolley and you'd fill it all up. Those ones now basically like do you remember when we were at school or whatever, and you'd have like the little cake tray thing, and you'd walk around with like the tray with the cakes or something, you'd sell them that day. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Right? It's like the shops have these shopping trolleys which are like 6 inches deep, and you're putting it on a shelf, and you carry around a shelf, not a trolley, and you go, I just spent $300 on a shelf of, it's wild.
Yeah, exactly. exactly. It's just everything costs so much, and that's another part that's just making it hard for people to come up with the money to get into the market.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's crazy, and it's off again. Inflation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
We thought it was coming down. The RBA was starting to get excited. We might actually be in our target band for the first time. If I the 2 to 3% target band that they love, they've only been in there a month or two over the last decade, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they're never in the target band.
But what they used to class as, I call it the CPI, because the CPI is made up of goods, and they used to say, meat prices or housing prices or whatever. But the meat went from a steak to a bit of mince to a sausage, now to some plastic 3D printed fake vegetarian meat substitute. And you got housing used to be classed on a house price, and it was classed on a mortgage price, and it's now classed on rent. And it's like they keep manipulating the back end to go, it's only 3%, we're lucky. And it's like, hang on a second, like the quality of everyone's life has gotten worse. Like, sure, we're all sitting around having a laugh about it, and I've made lots of money and my clients have made money and everyone's doing good with properties, but everything else that you got to buy in your life is just going up by the week.
Yeah, well, if you were paying $1,000 a week in rent, what would a 3% increase be? $30 a week?
$30, yeah.
You tell someone who's just had their rent jacked up by $400 that told them to vacate that's a 3% inflation going on.
Exactly.
And of course, the rent perpetuates it, doesn't it? Because if you put the rates up, then the landlords put up the rent to pay for that. So then you pay more rent anyway. So
that's exactly. I said beforehand, before the rates went up, I was making YouTube videos about this and Facebook videos. And I said that it's impossible for the rates to go up too high, because the more that they put the rates up to stop inflation, the more that the inflation is going to occur, because it's going to be passed on. It's crazy. It's wild.
Yeah. And do you think they need a different trigger than, mortgages in order to get inflation under control? Because if you look at there's 30% of the population who has a mortgage in Australia, the adult population. You got renters who are affected by the mortgage rates, but the others are the ones who own their own home outright, and the rates that go higher, the more money they have to spend.
I think we like what everyone misses out when they look at housing, because everyone's just so focused on housing and the cost of mortgage, but the cash rate impacts things that are much greater. So every large corporation, if we go to a shops, let's go to a big large format shopping center, you got 2 supermarkets or whatever, every single one of those shops is listed on the stock exchange. The delivery drivers that are delivering the stock, the power that's going to that center, everything's getting inflated away, but they've all got debt attached to them. So the hidden debt is the trucking company that has debt to go and buy a new fleet of trucks. So it's like an economy that's just made up on debt. It's not just, the shop has to make a bit more money because the cost of goods have gone up. So inflation's hit the electricity in the fridge, so they have to put the price up. The worker goes, I need more wage, so then the wages go up. The shop's like, okay, we have to put prices up again. It's just a never-ending spiral. But I believe, just from all my knowledge of looking out there, that the finger gets pointed. It's the baby boomers' fault. It's the avocado on toast person's fault. It's whatever. It's a migrant. And it's like, hang on a second. Who's talking about the money being just printed away? And I mean, I'm so excited by it. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued that it's happening. And
it's hard to see it, inflation getting under like any kind of control.
Yeah.
With the challenge, and because there are so many challenges in the world, and at the moment the world's a pretty uncertain, volatile place.
Yeah.
And all of those things, everything that happens, that tends to affect inflation.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember through that time of the last 5 years, right? This is 5 years of a decade, of a quarter of a century that we've lived in this millennium, really. Like, it's nothing. And like, just from 2020, they blamed an illness, they blamed a nation, they blamed a war, they blamed climate, they blamed all these things. And it's like, no one's taken the it's just, I find it interesting. I find it amusing. It's always, it was because of that the inflation's got. It's because of that. It's like the inflation is have to happen from somewhere else. But you're right. It's not a stable place. I don't know if it's ever been stable in our whole lifetime either.
No.
The more that I look back and the older I get.
Yeah, it's out of it's most of it's out of our control.
Yeah, yeah.
So you just got to do what you can, I suppose. But also, I don't think that I don't think people will ever go back to their old habits.
Yeah.
Or to the habits of previous generations.
Yeah.
So it's just these days the mod cons are just non-negotiables for me.
Yeah.
Like I saw we did a story not long ago about, the effects of credit card use on your borrowing power and everything. And even now, the average Aussie with a credit card is spending $1,200 a month on lifestyle and non-essential purchases.
Yeah.
How do you do that in a cost of living crisis, as they say? They just don't know any other way. They're not going to go back.
When I was a kid, my parents were nearly 50 when they had me. So my dad would be like nearly 90 now if he's still alive. And when I was a kid, I remember he'd see things and he'd be like, oh, that's back when I was a kid, and it would have been just after the Depression, around the Depression era, growing up. And he's like, we used to have bread and dripping, right? And I was like, what's that crap, right? And it's like people would stitch their own clothes together. You'd share your socks and whatever, right? That's not a thing. Like people are just hooked on this cheap credit that's readily available and they just keep printing more of it. And
Yeah. I mean, even like you talk about previous generations, but even when I was a kid, like my grandma would knit me a jumper, a wool jumper, all itchy and one arm's longer than the other. You're like, what? It did not occur to her that she would buy a jumper. And they just would make everything last and use everything like that dripping, like you're talking about, like jar under the sink full of like that. It's just like, we're going to eat that. Like,
I think I saw something recently, like I can't stand the taste of Vegemite, right? But like Vegemite was like a byproduct of the beer industry and they needed to get rid of the yeast or something. And then that's where it was created from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Vegemite.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, with it spread pretty thinly.
Yeah.
With some butter is quite good.
I haven't had it for a long time, Vegemite.
They always give it to Americans out of a spoon on TV. American celebrity go, what do you think about this? They're like, oh my God, if you had a spoon of Vegemite, you would have the same reaction. Yeah. Anyway, we digress.
That happens here sometimes.
Yeah. 100%. Like, if you look at, now that I'm in and you'll know this too, that you're in the demographic of like a young family.
Yeah.
Like, they eat out 3 nights a week.
Yeah. Like, it's crazy.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
We'll just go up to the bowling club or the kids can run around there and or the big destination pub that you've got with the playground and everything. And then it's next thing you know, there's $100. Like kids meals cost you $20 for it.
Well, all kids growing up would get like fish and chips or something. That's all there'll be around. There wasn't a selection of smorgasbord. You've got it on your app. You can push a button.
Yeah, exactly. And it'd be, once every now and again. Certainly not, multiple times a week. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So we've got inflation happening, which I think has caught a lot of people off guard over the last year, 2 years, 5 years, specifically the last 5 years. Is there anything else that you're seeing from, data that's coming to you from the media, that's caught people off guard? Obviously, the new one emerging is changes in lending policy. We've seen APRA back in 2016, 17, 18 tinker and try to play. Has that had a big impact yet? Or
look, I think some of the lending stuff, definitely. I still think people are surprised by how dire the situation is for construction as well. I think, if you look around, like if you try to get a tradie at the moment, it's pretty hard.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I book you for a job and pay you some money? It's like, can't be bothered. I've got too much work. Okay. But just in general, like you can make a target like the housing accord, right?
Yeah.
1.2 million homes. 5 years, we can do it. Problem is the federal government passes that onto the states to facilitate, who then have to get it put down to the local councils who take every single complaint or submission as something to investigate and try their hardest to stop you from actually building anything.
Yeah.
Like the inflation that's hit that sector, the supply issues, the materials, the labor.
Yeah.
You know, it's just shouldn't be such a pipe dream, but it is. But how can prices ever like regulate or stop going up if we can't make enough property? And I just don't see. I'm still surprised by it because I don't think anyone has a solution for it.
I don't see any issue. I don't see any solution for the problem that we have. And he said like 1.2 million properties. That would be over 5 years. That'd be like 250,000 properties a year. But the problem is we need that now, and we can't provide that now. But every year we're bringing in 600,000 more people. 5 years' time, that's 3 million more people in. I'm a big fan of that. Like, keep bringing people in. It wrecks our driving around Sydney and stuff, right? But it puts more pressure on our infrastructure. But that's putting more pressure into this system, which I know for me, you know, dirty capitalist guy here, benefits from, right? Like for 3 million more people, that would gobble up all that housing if they could provide that anyway. Yeah,
exactly. And, you know, people will sort of talk about migration and the big numbers and, you know, we should stop migration and all that. But it's like, well, okay, well, that's one very small, like there have been bigger numbers in recent years, which is now slowing down, but it's one small part of the puzzle. It's an easy thing for your Aussie on the street to get up in arms about.
Yeah. Or to keyboard warrior and
or to go on like a current affair or something like that. But you know, it's an easy thing to hide behind for the people who are actually tasked with making it happen.
Yeah.
The layers of government, the lack of how prohibitive it is to develop property.
Yeah.
The costs involved, the money you have to pay the government in tax.
Wow.
You know, crazy, like 45% of the cost of a development you pay into the government in one way or another.
GSTs, yeah. Wow.
Like, how are you ever going to make it worthwhile? Like
the floor, like someone was telling me recently about, I'm going to build a granny flat. I was like, don't do it. I don't like granny flats. You know that for 15 years of it. I just hate building granny flats. I'm buying a whole property for that. And I'm like, how much does a granny flat cost? I'm like, 120, 140, 150. And they're like, 250,000. Someone else told me about a granny flat at 250,000. I'm like, spending $250,000 on a granny flat, like a garage with a kitchen and a bathroom, right? I remember I didn't like those things at 80 grand or 60 grand.
Yeah.
Now they're just crazy high.
I remember there was some spruikers back then when their solution for everything is just to put a granny flat in your house and rent it out. And it's like, okay, what happens if there's
they probably did more than the government to think about it, right? I know who Tim's talking about, and we both have a laugh because we know who. There was a few of them, but come to think about it, like that was probably helping more than the government today. But
well, you're providing housing.
It's
just like, I think from an investor point of view, at the time it was a bit like iffy because where's the guaranteed market for this? Like, if I'm not near a university or a hospital or a major employer or that's full of transitional workers, why is someone going to live in my backyard, like, you know, out in the burbs?
Every second house in Mount Druitt was being painted the same colour with a granny flat put in that. And they were like just clipping the ticket to get the granny flat sales going on.
Yeah. Now it's worth more. It's like, but what about the people who want to buy it after you and they don't want a granny flat?
Or some random live in the backyard.
But you could probably do it a few more now. Actually.
Come to think about it, it sounded silly back then, but wild. And I guess you know, other trends, like, is there any other sort of trends that you're seeing at the moment, Tim, like that are forming that people could learn from or be mindful of?
Oh, look. Yeah. I think I might leave that one actually.
Okay, yeah.
Unless you want to prompt me with something, because I'm like when we're talking about there was trends for people to leave cities.
Yeah.
And you know, eventually they realized that maybe that coastal sea change or the big property in the farmland or something.
It sort of hit a peak at about 23 or something.
Not as good as they thought it would be.
Yeah.
And then also businesses want people to start going back to the office. So a lot of people have been left in the lurch after making decisions thinking they'd be working from home permanently or are able to work most of their time from home.
Yeah.
So there's a trend now, I think, where people are having to figure out how to get back into where workplaces are as well.
Yeah.
As far as
that actually makes me think of something, Tim. Sorry to change. So one thing I'm seeing, and I hear from a lot of my mates that are in the city, and your head office is in the city, like I hear that office space is like shit in a lot of markets. People are downsizing. We just upsized and got some new offices and that. I'm trying to rent out old offices, and all I get told is, people wanting smaller offices because they don't need 15 staff in a building. They just need 5. Yeah. And that sort of stuff. Are you seeing any trends in the commercial sector?
Look, there's been a lot of, I guess, commercial returns would have been down for quite some time, or the last few years. And definitely more companies are sort of hot desking and just, a lot of people are working 1 day a week in the office or 2 days a week. So you don't need to be paying all that rent. You don't need all that space.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember when we used to have the Manly Daily at News Corp. We still have that in a digital capacity, but it's, the physical office.
Yeah.
Down on the Manly Corso there. And it was this great big office full of people.
Yeah.
Like 100 staff.
Yeah.
Just absolutely going off. And then, times started to change. There were restructures and all that sort of stuff. And, the print advertising dollars sort of stopped flowing in as much. And so, the staff numbers were dwindling. Yeah. And then they started subdividing that place. And by the end of it, there was like 6 businesses in this building. The Manly Daily was just basically a room.
Wild.
And they had a deal with the owner of the building, I think, that it was, as long as there was a print publication, they could use the space at like a discount rent.
Yeah.
When they stopped printing, then that ended. So the Manly Daily office building is no more. It's got like a Naked Wines in there and something like a few other like little startups or creative type companies. And that was a good example of the needs changing, I suppose. There was talk for a while, or quite a few people were coming up with this idea of turning commercial space into residential. So you would have heard.
I've heard of that stuff. Yeah.
So much vacancy in the city, especially post COVID. Why not turn it residential? Well, of course, there's a few problems there. Like
the building restrictions of not just the council, but the actual building is like fire and
that's right. Like sitting there and working at a desk or using a kitchenette is. It's not quite the same as living somewhere. So, there would have been a lot to do there, but look, I suppose commercially, smaller spaces, probably going to do better than, but some of these big companies are pushing pretty hard to get everyone back into the city, and you'll probably see the governments get on board with all that because they don't want a dead city.
Yeah. And I'm seeing on the flip side of that, like a lot of migration being pushed to like fast track migration to go to some of those regional areas to backfill them. Like people used to be, Sydney was like the entry point. You'd come to Australia, you go to Sydney, then disperse out to a different location. Yeah. But I'm seeing people and hearing stories of people just like landing in the country, then going to a different, like going to a regional town straight away, and they get a, I guess it's filling the holes of those towns that have been.
I haven't seen across that one. I know that Sydney and Melbourne have always done the bulk of the lifting for the influx of people migrating.
I'm seeing so much. It's like a designated regional migration. I'd have to go and speak to people that that tell me about these things, right? I'm just here, but I do see it, and I see that they make a certain zone like a migration region for like 12, 24 months. And if you understand, if you, for example, I haven't had to migrate here to the country, but if you're a doctor in India, for example, and you come to Australia, you're not a doctor anymore. You have to go back to uni and become a doctor. But they make these regions where if you go there and live there for 10 years and stay there, then you become that after 10 years in Australia, which is pretty crazy sort of stuff.
I suppose there is a great shortage of
doctors, nurses, and
professionals especially in a lot of regional Australia. And
yeah.
what does that do to the rental markets in some of those areas? Because not everyone comes ready to go with a money for a house.
Yeah.
And I've heard of some places where there's a zero vacancy rate.
Yeah.
There's only so many rentals available, like at any time, and none of them are available.
Yeah.
So if you want to go and work at a hospital somewhere,
there's nothing.
You're going to work as a nurse and drive an hour from somewhere else to get there to be under those conditions. And
I've met with some mayors of some more regional sort of locations of far north Queensland, like over the last 5 years. And they've said, look, we can't even get accommodation for builders to build properties for nurses that need to be in this region. They have to actually have to do that same thing. So this is wild, like interesting, like things that we would have thought, oh, it's the back of nowhere. It's a mining town. Some places, like I look at Gladstone, for example, now, and that was like, went through a big slump a few years ago. But that place is booming, and they've backfilled. The government have these protocols where they have to backfill to stop, losses in the region. So,
and skilled workers, I suppose, needed in the country. They've got to go somewhere, and
go over there. So it's cool. Are you seeing any other sort of shifts with, I see all these people talking about rooming houses and like the granny flats back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm really concerned for people that are investing because they pay higher prices for properties that aren't really worth it because who wants a house with 5 disabled bathrooms in it and no lounge room?
Yeah, okay.
Are you seeing anything with, rooming or with NDIS or anything like that?
Oh, look, I think there's an increase in the number of people per household, which is a sign of the times. So people are buying properties with friends, or they're renting. You've got people my age who are share housing, which I'd hate to do.
That's crazy.
At the age of my life.
Yeah.
It was all right when I was 20, but So it's not what you necessarily want, but that's what desperation does. NDIS, I'm not so sure about that stuff. Like, but it's people need a place to live.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many people now who are working homeless. And, it's just in this country, once upon a time, if you had a full-time job and you did it well and you worked hard, you didn't have to live in your car or in a tent in the park.
Yeah.
Some people are doing that, they're in their car. They go down and have a shower somewhere at a public shower or
24-hour gym.
Yeah. And then they go to work.
Yeah.
It's something that's always been around in some capacity, but you've never seen anything like it. You have now. You do now. Like, crazy.
I've seen a few locations. Like I was in the Gold Coast a few months ago, and like Southport is just full of it. Like all these pockets in the Gold Coast. I'm like, what the like? There's like shopping trolleys. There's makeshift. Like it looks like a bloody carnival going on. There's like tents and tarps and Central Coast here. It's a lot of people in camper vans, that sort of thing as well. And that they just live out of their car for a while till they find somewhere. So it's pretty confronting when you see that sort of stuff. But that's part of our problem. There are people who are willing and able to pay to either rent or to buy, but can't get places. Yeah. I've seen, I've heard stories in some of the regions of where we got Blink, like some of the we have an open home, there's like 60, 80 people attend to the place, and it's like they're trying to shove cash to go, oh, here, take cash, or give me my thing. And it's like, hey man, like, it's crazy. I guess for trends that are starting to form or that you could see, like, as we go into 2026, is there any, I guess for the viewers, just stuff that you think to watch out for or opportunities that people,
look, I think opportunities are going to continue. There's more growth ahead in 2026. The only thing that will slow it down is if there's like more ratings.
Yeah.
Not just one,
Yeah.
but like more than that. And who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Especially after the peak spending season that we're going into now. But
Yeah.
but I think, dare I say, somewhere that you steered clear of for quite some time, the great state of Victoria, and got a bit of potential in the year ahead.
Yeah. I love Victoria at the moment.
You're loving Victoria?
I've said for a decade, like, people used to come to me and go, oh, what do you think of Melbourne? I'm like, I just don't touch it. Like buying the Gold Coast. Like I'm buying properties in Melbourne today for 250 grand that used to sell for 400. And people are paying 700 grand in Townsville when you can buy Melbourne for that price. Yeah, it's got all its problems and that, but poor bastards were paying 500 grand for something in 2016 that you can buy for, 350, 400 today. It's like, It's on sale. And in a world with inflation, what can you buy that's cheaper than what it was before?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Melbourne had a problem that has been a foreign concept for a while now, not that long ago, which was oversupply of new properties.
Yeah.
Apartments and whatnot, especially around the city area. And that was stagnant for a long time.
Yeah.
And Melbourne, it's always been vying with Sydney, which is the real capital of Australia, which is the main city sort of thing. All of a sudden, when it comes to median house prices, Melbourne's about fifth or fourth.
It's like the cheapest. It's like,
but like it's Queensland has two cities with higher median prices. Like if you look at the Gold Coast as a city, that's the second most expensive market in Australia right now. Right,
it's crazy.
So you get a house on the Gold Coast for 1.5 Sydney as a median.
Yeah,
and tell me where you get a house for the median price, because I don't know
exactly.
But Sydney's up at nearly 1.7.
Yeah.
And then you got Brisbane, which is over $1 million now. Adelaide's closing in on $1 million.
Yeah. Perth.
Actually, Adelaide may have even hit, but Adelaide is on the verge of overtaking Melbourne. And who would have ever thought that would have been something,
Exactly.
Little Adelaide, but it's just, and Melbourne's got potential next year, but also Darwin.
Yeah.
I feel like Darwin's one of those weird markets that it's such a transient population. Like you're either in the armed forces, or you're a traveller, or you're there for work, or for whatever reason. So the median has always been a little bit inflated, but I feel like there's value there at the moment. And there's probably a little bit of growth next year. So that's an opportunity. But I still think Perth has more room to grow. So does Brisbane. So does Adelaide. Not as fast as the last couple of years.
Yeah. But
still the best. And still the best options if you're lucky enough to have gotten in there. I mean, from Gold Coast and also obviously like disclosure from me, like you helped me buying the Gold Coast in 2015. Geez, it was cheap back then. Yeah. You got that unit for $11,000 less than it was sold for 15 years earlier.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. And now, like, it's gone bananas, but you wouldn't get value if you bought there now.
No way.
No. Even if it went up by, it'd be like buying some Bitcoin when it's at $100,000 and hoping it goes up to $120,000.
Correct.
Compared to buying it when it's at
$500.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, for a lot of people, they see it. Oh, it's at 100 grand. We've got to start buying in, and it's great for people like you and I, which have got in. But it's like, I guess everyone should be aware and be careful to not go in there and try and chase that top, because that becomes the suckers rally too. Where
that's right. I mean, the Gold Coast was always a market that just was so unreliable. It would go up. It would go down. It depends on what new developments had come on and everything, or how many spruikers had sold properties to retirees and whatnot up there for overinflated costs.
you'd go up there, and before the world of TikTok and Instagram and everyone, the spruikers would find their way into a magazine on the back cover or whatever, and then you'd have these other spruikers that were the decade before, which would be like they'd all come to a room, they'd say, we've got a big opportunity, and then they'd give them free airfares to fly to Queensland or whatever. They'd get off the airport, the sales dude would have his BMW in a suit that would like pick you up and show you around, and people were paying double than what they were worth.
That's, to me, that sort of stuff is like, it's like being treated as a VIP at the pokey room.
It's easier, like, free nuts.
Hey, mate, you want a sandwich? Like, how good's this? I go in there and they make me a toasted sandwich. I get my drinks for free, and all I have to do is spend $1,000 a day on the pokey. Like,
Yes.
It's a bit like that, isn't it? Why are they flying you up to these places and showing you all these things? If you're going to be the winner out of the deal. So look, I think the Gold Coast has been unreal, and not that long ago, families were still going up there to buy houses in the hinterland for under $500,000, and
crazy.
So many people left Sydney and went to Queensland. And then Brisbane as well. Friends of ours moved up there a few years ago, bought a house for I think about $800,000 in a decent suburb of Brisbane, and that'd be worth double now, and absolutely Buckley's chance of getting in
affordably.
Like those same people would have no chance in the jobs they work and with their borrowing power now to go and buy in the same place, which is.
But imagine all the people in the street that they bought into, with the people coming in to buy now for $2 million, and everyone was buying 800. Everyone on that street now has got $1 million worth of equity and net worth, and they're all among us. And it's there's opportunities and there's fears, and that's the cool thing about the world we live in, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be a great way to realise the wealth of Sydney. I knew a bloke who probably, I think it was about 2018, 19. He'd had his family home in Lane Cove. He'd been living there for ages. He sold it for $5 million. And this is something that would have been nothing like that. He's gone up to Brisbane, bought a mint house for $1 million. He's got a spare $4 million. And if you can leave Sydney on a one-way ticket, that's the only way you can actually realise the wealth, because, without building a portfolio on equity and whatnot, because it's, otherwise you're just buying into the same market again. But you don't want to leave and then decide you want to come back, which is what he did.
It better be a one-way ticket.
He loves surfing, so there's no surf in Brisbane. There's no surf north of the Gold Coast. So, he came back down and he's got an apartment somewhere, but it was a great move to go up there, but it was very costly to get back in.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot of lessons in that itself. So. Yeah,
indeed. And I think that's the same for the regional people as well. Like if you move to, but there's the town where I grew up called Port Macquarie. That has gone bananas in the last few years. And usually in regional places like that, and it's a big town for a coastal town. It's like population of 70 or 80,000 people. There's a lot of beaches. They've got craft breweries, fancy restaurants and stuff now. So it's really gentrified and everything. But it was still really, 3 years ago would be, or just before the COVID boom, you'd really, you'd be stretched to pay $1 million for a nice house. And now it's $2 million. And so, but people who have moved up there, they want to, if you moved up there because you could work remotely, and now you got to come back and work at Macquarie Bank or something, and they want you in the office 5 days a week. Well, you go back into the city, come back to Sydney, and while Port Macquarie might have gone from $1 million to $2 million, Sydney's gone.
A fibre would be out drew it now.
Exactly. That's what you're looking at. So, that's always a tough trip.
Yeah. Fun time to be alive, Tim. Fun time to be alive. So thank you very much, Tim, for coming in today. Sometimes we guess, I'm like, hey, hit them up over here, right? But you'll see Tim around on in news.com publications. Thanks for...
Yeah, you see me on news.com.au and realestate.com.au and the Daily Telegraph at times. So we publish in all those places. But and you might see some stories about yourself pop up in those areas sometimes too.
True. But my viewers, they know that I'm selective with my media because there's lots of rubbish media out there, but I'm always, news.com, Tim, the team, realestate.com, a lot of, great content that you put out there. And that's why we wanted to get you on today to share what, your thoughts and your knowledge that you're seeing out there.
Yeah, look, it's been great. Thank you. It's been great to come on.
Beauty. Thank you. If you have any questions, drop in the comment section below. Thanks again for tuning in and spending the hour of your time or so listening to the podcast. If you have any help that you need, hit us up at 1300 367 925, admin@B.Invested.com.au. And remember, every Thursday, a new podcast drops on Google Play, Apple Play, Spotify, and YouTube. See you next week. Bye for now.
Like Bilal said, man, we're stuck in the matrix. This my advice, don't care if you take it. The dollar back to die, soon to be hyperinflated.